It's been a busy week for Bloodlines 2. There have been two separate updates. The first was the Dev Diary number 7, and the second was extended gameplay on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description below. The first update, provided by Project Creative Director Alex Skidmore of the Chinese Room, is the post on their website talking about the 3 types of combat. Oh, this is also the second pillar of the game, visceral, immersive combat. Kind of pains me to hear things like that, as usually that means another marketing term for the usual combat. Anyway, he details 3 types of combat styles. The strategic stalker, that's all the sneaky stuff. Think Benu Hakim, or just anybody who wants to be quiet and sneak around. And this will definitely be my preferred combat style. But if stealth isn't your bag, how about the action brawler, as typified by the Bruja? This again is pretty straightforward, running up and beating the ever-loving slat out of somebody. And then he talks about a third type, the narrative adventurer, whatever the heck that means. Skidmore notes that this playstyle will be very close to what probably most fans of Bloodlines 1 enjoyed. Why that is, I'm still not clear. The explanation seemed a little vague. Aren't we all narrative adventurers? And don't we still have to rip somebody's face off every once in a while? In the end, none of these 3 styles seems particularly innovative, but then again, I'm not looking for massive innovation. I'm looking for good gameplay with a mind-blowingly great story. So if they just let me sneak around and stab and eat people, I'll be fine with the combat. And that brings us to the extended gameplay. 33 minutes of hardcore fighting, a little bit of dialogue, and some dev talking. For this one, I had 3 main takeaways. Number 1, they like to do environmental storytelling with newspapers, with a little audio, and some environmental interactions. The newspaper articles, well, that's pretty common and often quite interesting. And in the gameplay featured here, it's what fleshes out the story of the man all this warehouse rampaging is about. What we didn't learn was whether these articles and the knowledge you gain does something to help you change his mind or alter the outcome. Besides those articles, you get to overhear Willem talking to other people in the past about his life, about you. How significant this information will be is unclear. In the gameplay, they booked right on through many of these sections, so you didn't get to hear detail, but it was a nice touch. And finally, there were the actual physical environmental changes. The colors, the arrangement of various things. A hard hat is red in one, it's blue here, it's changed positions. You have to destroy the gramophones, little things like that. And we learn that these interactions are manifest through the gardener, the individual, the Malkavian, that's working through our unfortunate Nosferatu. The second narrative nugget was Fabian. As discussed on this channel before, we understand why he's there, just don't like it. Sure, they don't want Fire walking around mumbling to herself, but we don't need Fabian. The biggest bummer was at no point during the gameplay did we see Fire, I still hate that name, address Fabian with dialogue choices. He made a comment, asked a question, Fire just answers. We don't have any control. After the gameplay, they had a Q&A with Joshua Matthews asking the aforementioned Alex Skidmore questions. And Alex indicated that your actions and your dialogue choices with other people would influence your relationship with Fabian. We didn't learn whether that influence extends to all of the conversations in your head. Do you still run around and him talking to you as though he's your best bud? Or does he start getting snarky and mean? And do you get to be snarky and mean? There was a bit of back and forth, especially when you would restart the scene, but I would have really liked to have seen some choices in talking to Fabian. And finally, we got dialogue choices with Willem. And because they were playing a Bruja, they wanted to take the aggressive intimidation options in dialogue. I must say, while I didn't think any of them were offensively stupid, and sometimes when your dialogue choices are to skew to one thing or another, it gets a little wonky just because they can't figure out something aggressive enough to say without sounding like a moron. And assuming this was the entire conversation, they were rather short. Not a lot of back and forth and sussing out information. Then again, maybe that's partly the dialogue choices you've taken. Don't know, suspect that it's not, but it always could be the case. And finally, did our dialogue affect the outcome of this scene? Would all that environmental storytelling have mattered if we took one of the other options? And as a side note, at no point did it look like the dialogue options were timed. And here's a bonus takeaway. Clearly, the graphics are nice. However, the faces, not so great. Fire looks very plasticky. Who knows? Maybe vampires have insanely smooth skin. I mean, Willem doesn't, but then he's a Nosferatu. Then again, I wouldn't have expected a Bruja to have really smooth skin. Was this stylistic or a limitation? Don't know, don't care that much, but it is noticeable, especially in the world of ultra-realistic people. Take Cyberpunk 2077 and Baldur's Gate 3. These characters do not hold up to either of those two games. And bonus number 2. 3 dialogue options? Really? That's all we get? What do you folks think? This helping you get hyped? You think this looks good? What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.